Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayo Radha Giridhari Shri Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Welcome to this morning's Bhagavatam class. We're reading from Lilamrita, Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, and we are here on chapter 2. I'll begin this reading first and then we'll move to Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now, nationalism was strongly influencing his life, and he had recently married and was facing the decisions of graduation and career. Yet here he was, hardly more than a boy, walking alone in Puri, where Lord Chaitanya had lived, and where Lord Krishna's Jagannath still resided. Abhay relished his break from the pressure of duties in Calcutta. He didn't know how the love he felt for Krishna and Krishna's pilgrimage place would fit into his life. He knew that Krishna was more important than anything else. He was God, the supreme controller, and everyone's inner guide. But there was so much token, superficial service to God. Even the nationalist speakers, although they carried the Gita on their person, were more intent on nationalism than on Krishna. Only those who were sincere devotees knew the importance and attraction of Krishna, people like his father. An odd incident occurred at Puri. Gaur Mohan had given Abhay a letter of introduction to an acquaintance who lived in Jagannath Puri. Abhay went to see him and was well received. When the man was offering him lunch, however, Abhay noticed a small lump within one of the cooking pots. He questioned his host, who replied, "Oh, it is meat." Abhay was unable to restrain his shock. "No, what is this? I've never taken meat." Abhay looked at his host in astonishment. "I never expected this at Jagannath Puri." Ashamed, his host said, "I did not know. I thought this was the best." Abhay pacified the man, but he put his food aside and took no more meals there. After that, Abhay ate only the Jagannath Prasadam from the temple. Abhay stayed in Puri for 3 or 4 days, wandering around the holy places and visiting the famous Puri seaside with its sparkling beach and strongly pounding surf. Several times he recognized some of the priests from Jagannath temple and they smoked cigarettes. He heard of other unsavory activities of the sadhus connected with the temple. What kind of sadhus were these who ate fish with their Jagannath prasadam and smoked? In this respect, he found Jagannath Puri disappointing. All glories to His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. What a wonderful pastime. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Hridiyantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti sruhit satam Nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. So we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 17, and today's verses are 10 and 11. Vayam rajan jathare na bitapta Yathagnina kotarasthena vrikshaha Tvam adyayataha sharanam sharanyam Yah sadhito vrittikaraha patirnaha Tanno bhavani thahuratave annam Shudhartitanam naradeva deva Yavanna nansyamaha ujritorja vartapatistvam kila lokapalaha. Are there any volunteers who would like to read these verses? Recite these verses?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am trying.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please, thank you.
Vayam rajan jatharo abhi tapta jathagnina kuturastena vrikshaha tamotta yata sharanam sharanyam yashadito vitti paraha patirnaha tatro bhavan ihatu ratave anyam shudarti danam naradeva deva yavanna kankshayamaha Ujjitorja Bhattapatistvam Kilo Lokapalaha.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please.
Vayam rajan jathorena vitapta yathagnina kotoresteno vrikshaha tvamadhyayataha sharanam sharanyam yah sadhito vrittikaraha patirnaha tanyo bhavani hotu rataveyanyam Shudarthitanam naro devo devo yavanno nangshamaha ujjiturya vartapotistvam kila lokopalaha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam, I am trying.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams, please.
Vayam rajan jatharena vitapta jathagnina kotorasthena vrikshaha tvam adya yataha saranam saranyam yasudhitu vrittikaraha patirnaha tanno bhavan tathur atbhe annam Sudharditanam naradeva deva Javanna nakshayam maha ujjohito raja Varta potistvam kilaloka pataha palaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji and Prabhuji's. So we'll be reading synonym translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vayam, we, Rajan, O King, Jatharena, by the fire of hunger, Abhitap Taha, very much aggrieved, Yatha, just as, Agnina, by the fire, Kotarasthena, in the hollow of a tree, Vrikshaha, trees, Tvam, unto you, Adya, today, Yataha, we have come, Sharanam, shelter, Sharanyam, worth taking shelter of, Yaha, who, Sadhitaha, appointed, Vrittikaraha, one who gives employment, Patihi, master, Naha, our, Tat, therefore, Naha, to us, Bhavan, your majesty, Ihat, Ihatu, please try, Rat, the way, to give, Annam, food grains, Shuddha, with hunger, Arditanam, suffering, Naradeva Deva, O Supreme Master of all kings, Yavat na, lest. None Shyamahe, we will perish. Ujhita, being bereft of. Urjaha, food grains. Varta, of occupational engagements. Patihi, bestower. Tvam, you. Kila, indeed. Lokapalaha, the protector of the citizens. Translation. Dear King, just as a tree with a fire burning in the hollow of the trunk gradually dries up, we are drying up due to the fire of hunger in our stomachs. You are the protector of surrendered souls, and you have been appointed to give employment to us. Therefore, We have come to you for protection. You're not only a king, but the incarnation of God as well. Indeed, you are the king of all kings. You can give us all kinds of occupational engagements, for you are the master of our livelihood. Therefore, O King of all kings, please arrange to satisfy our hunger by the proper distribution of food grains. Please take care of us, lest we soon will die. We soon die for want of food. But it is the duty of the king to see that everyone in the social orders, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, is fully employed in the state. Just as it is the duty of the Brahmanas to elect a proper king, it is the duty of the king to see that all the Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, are fully engaged in their respective occupational duties. It is here indicated that although the people were allowed to perform their duties, they were still unemployed. Although they were not lazy, they still could not produce sufficient food to satisfy their hunger. When the people are perplexed in this way, they should approach the head of government. The president or king should take immediate action to mitigate the distress of the people. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeyaham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bir Krishna Das Goswami Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 17, texts 10 and 11. And in the translation, Srila Prabhupada has, this is the chapter where Maharaj Prithu becomes angry at the earth. So we are reading the pastime of King Prithu, Maharaj Prithu. Previous chapters we were talking about how Prithu Maharaj was, how Prithu Maharaj appeared. So these few chapters are chapters of the kings, finishing, let's say, coming from Dhruva Maharaj, then his dynasty. We are introduced to King Anga, then King Vena. Anga being a very pious king, Vena being a very cruel king. And after the death of Vena, King Prithu appeared from the rubbing of the arms of Vena, and with Prithu came Archi. So we know that King Prithu he's not an ordinary king. So when in chapter 15, when we talk about King Prithu's appearance and coronation, at the time of the birth of King Vena, things weren't correct. But because of the appearance of King Prithu, the subjects, especially the Brahmanas, are jubilant about King Prithu's appearance. So we continue from the praises that at that time the Brahmanas praised King Prithu. Then the Gandharvas sang his glories, and Siddhas showered flowers, and Apsaras danced in ecstasy. So there were auspicious sounds of conches, bugles, drums, kettle drums, etc., and all the great sages, forefathers, personalities from the heavenly planets arrived on his appearance, on his divine appearance. And Brahma there concluded that seeing the marks on of the club on King Prithu's right hand, lotus on his feet, Lord Brahma, he's the supreme authorizing agency. So, so he understands that King Prithu was the Lord's partial representation. So in this text, the subjects are approaching the king, not as a king, but as a Shaktavesha avatar. So who is a Shaktavesha avatar? The partial representation of the Lord, who's been specified certain tasks and empowered to do that. Then in the coronation of Prithu, there has been lots of praises going on, and all the demigods have given beautiful gifts to the Lord, Then King Prithu functions. In the previous chapter, we also see that how King Prithu functions, his qualities as demigod. As Surya, he'll exact taxes from the citizens. Bhumi, he will tolerate. Indra, he'll supply rain. Chandra, because Chandra pleases the world with his cooling rays, King Prithu will please the world with his affectionate glances and charming smile. Then Varuna and Vishnu, King Prithu would keep his policies, activities, methods of success and treasury confidential, like Varuna. And as Vishnu, he'll have the greatness, he'll have qualities and chief influence, because he's the Shaktavesha avatar. So as Agni, he'll be unapproachable, unbearable, and unconquerable to his enemies. And similarly compared to Vayu, and because he's the partial representation, so he's also a representation of Dharma and Sun. So these are the qualities of King Prithu. We learn the qualities of King Prithu, how he's rendering services, how he's respectful to the Brahmanas, how he is true to his promise, how he is fixed to his vows. So all these qualities are already given to us before this verse. And in the last few sections of the previous chapter, we also read about how Prithu Maharaj's future activities will glorify him further. So in this verse, it's very beautifully explained. We are here talking, basically we're talking here about the Varnashram system, and in this verse, basically the subjects are free to come here to talk to the king. So as we see in this section, the citizens, Prithu Maharaj satisfies the bards by gifts, by worshipping them and glorifying them in return. He respects everybody anyways. And then the citizens approached. This is where we are in the section where the citizens approach the king. So to begin with, we are always dependent on Mother Nature that works under the direction of Krishna. Krishna himself says. So even if, however technologically we might have advanced, we're not going to eat technology. A very interesting example comes to talk about the importance of grains. What happens to us when we fast for the Nirjala Ekadashi? We're extremely drained, even if physically we are drained, maybe mentally and spiritually we may be very, we may be full of energy, but our body needs grains. So this is where Mother Nature comes in place. Mother Nature works under the direction of Krishna, and everything is well organized around or well arranged for us humans to do our devotional services properly. So Srimad Bhagavatam actually provides valuable lessons, and these lessons we learn how to apply in our day-to-day lives. Reading these few chapters, we understand that how from Dhruv Maharaj's pastimes, we're trying to see that how the Varnashram system is closely interrelated with each other. It's not that one Varna or one ashram is higher than the other Varna or ashram. It's how the interrelation of these Varnas and the ashramas, they intertwine to make a successful society. So right now, our social structure is quite mechanical, and the harmony is missing sometimes. But in the previous yugas, where Varnashram system was well established, to run a society in harmony, Varnashram system works as a method. So all the kings were elected, or the Brahmanas had a very, very important role. Similarly, the Kshatriyas. So Brahmanas' role was, they were the advising, they were in the advisory capacity, and the Kshatriyas were in the execution capacity. So when the advisory capacity, and when the people in the advisory capacity are really, really strong and moral, then automatically the execution the people in the execution capacity takes up right directions. So therefore, the importance of Brahmanas are quite much clearly mentioned here in in all these chapters. So we see that King Anga was a good king, King Vena was a cruel king, and King Prithu, Maharaj Prithu is a godly king. So he's a godly king, and in this, he's not an ordinary king, basically. So we know that he's the king of all kings. Repeatedly, these glorifications are given time and again for us as a reminder that he's not an ordinary king. Prithu Maharaj is not an ordinary king. He's a partial representation of the supreme personality of Godhead. So coming to this verse, we see that the king, there are duties for the king, and there are duties for the Brahmanas, and there are duties for the Vaishyas and the Shudras as well. So the duty of the king is to protect the subjects. So that's why, because he's the protector of the surrendered souls, he is appointed to give employment to us. And we all have come to you for protection. And the subjects are well confident here to approach the king. So therefore, to engage and the duty also is for the king, is to engage and encourage all the subjects in the prescribed occupational duties of their subjects, and to maintain varnashram in the perfect alignment so that the society duties can be performed smoothly. So as said, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, they all work in harmony. The Brahmanas acts as advisors and the Kshatriyas as executors. So from this verse, we also learn about the leadership qualities. Now, who is a leader? In today's understanding, who is a leader? A preacher is a leader. And who is a preacher? Anyone who chants the holy name is a leader. So in that case, all of us who are chanting and glorifying the holy names are the leaders. So leaders means making decisions. So who here, leaders, they make decisions and they take responsibilities as well. So Brahmanas are the leaders, Kshatriyas are the leaders, and they display their responsibilities and they display their capabilities in terms of their actions, because their advice and their execution actually makes the society run smoothly. For leadership to actually prevail, there has to be an environment also. In a very difficult environment, one cannot perform any leadership. So, and what is that environment? That environment is harmony. There has to be harmony. Until there is harmony between, and how does that harmony appear? That harmony comes by respecting the positions of each other. So this is where Varnashram system comes in place. Now, this is not, Varnashram system is not perverted caste system that we might misunderstand. Varnashram system is the system where the society runs smoothly according to one's psychophysical nature. So when there's harmony, then the subjects don't feel threatened. The people of the kingdom, they don't feel threatened to approach the king. And that's also one of the qualities of a king or a leader. The leader shouldn't be so cruel. Even if he's powerful, he should be kind enough that his subjects can approach him without feeling threatened. So when the harmony of the subjects, when the king or when the leader produces that harmony and the subjects, they feel unthreatened, they approach him. And this is what has happened here in this verse. They have approached him. Why have they approached him? For all the miseries that today they are facing. And because we don't go to people who are not going to solve our problems. We will go to people who are solution oriented. We don't want to expand the problems anytime. We want to mitigate the problems so that the solutions can be provided. So we look for the right leaderships. In here, this is what is the scenario. The subjects are not just talking about the problems. Therefore, even if the subjects are just talking about their problems, the duty of a leader is to actually identify the problem and quickly see, analyze what is to be done. So here the problem is lack of food grains, which we are going to, now the problem is being analyzed by the king in the next verses. And as a citizen, we are suffering from great hunger. And in the next verse, Prithu Maharaj contemplates what's the reason of that. And the reason comes as Mother Earth is not releasing anything. So in that case, Prithu Maharaj is going to think of a solution. So the problem here is lack of food grains, and Prithu Maharaj will take decisions, which we will see in the next few verses. So we know that the context, from the context of Mother Earth, Mother Earth is introduced to us will be introduced to us in after few verses. So one very important aspect that we learn today from this verse is the aspect of harmony. How harmony has to be maintained, not just between subjects, not just between the kings, not just between the kings and brahmanas and the rest of the subjects. The harmony has to be from all sides. And what is that? The harmony among Varnashram system, among all interrelated, Mother Nature, Mother Earth, material elements, Varnashram system. And we understand that how all these are interrelated with each other. In the past few verses, we've been talking about Varnashram system. So let's do a very short analysis. Why citizens were starving, why there was not enough grains, and why hard labor of citizens was fruitless. Why Mother Earth conceals all the supplies although she's an unalloyed devotee of the Lord. Expansion of Queen Satyabhama and the consort of Lord Venkateshwara. All this happened in previous yuga, where Varnashram Dharma was followed and all could perfect their lives just by following Varnashram Dharma, which would eventually elevate one to right Krishna consciousness as that was a default system that time. And people followed it, and They were not that degraded. We hear the story in Ramayana where Shudra started performing yagyas, bad things started happening. So if the king would have been a pious king representing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then Mother Earth would not have done this to the citizens. If the king is not good, then citizens also don't behave properly. As we hear in Bhagavad Gita, Lord created material world and sent demigods, yagya, for peaceful, prosperous life. King Vena stopped yagya. The result is here. Hence, no rain, no grains, and citizens were starving. Now, question arises, if the system is so perfect, then why not establish it now? Some devotees claim Srila Prabhupada said his 50% mission is incomplete without establishing Varnashram system. But recently, Gurudev, His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj said that there's no record of this in written. The tape recording evidence, and this was spread among devotees. In the classes 2-3 days ago, Maharaj was telling that until unless we have the right context, we cannot quote Srila Prabhupada for our motives, and there's this committee of hermeneutics within GBC, and things are being discussed at present, I suppose. But we're reading Ramananda Samvad, and in that book, Srila Prabhupada, the first section strongly writes it's not possible to establish Varnashram system in Kali Yuga due to degradation. Since it's a system of Krishna, we see some flavor of it. So in societies, we have intellectuals, administrators, businessmen, farmers, laborers class anyways, but because people are not properly situated, it does not benefit. So Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to hear more from Ramananda Rai, and he starts with Varnashrama, then Karma Yoga, then gives fruits to Krishna, then mixed bhakti, and then with ultimate good, following in the footsteps of the gopis in Vrindavan, the context where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai are having their conversation. So coming back to this verse, as a dependent child will approach the father, and similarly citizens will approach the king. And they knew very well that Prithu Maharaj is not an ordinary king. He's the incarnation, the Shaktavesh avatar of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, they became more confident because they knew that the solution will be there. And they presented their sufferings and asked for help. Who are we going to ask for help? Anyone who is capable to help us out. So King Prithu is capable to fulfill desires of his dependents, and definitely is not like modern leaders. So what is it that we basically understand here in terms of Varnashram system? Because for me personally, this Varnashram system is very complicated if understood in this method. But recently I was reading, I was listening to Gurudev's class, and then Gurudev did mention that anyone who's chanting does not really have to belong or think of belonging to any Varnashram system, because we actually don't even know where we stand. So how to know about a Varnashram system? What is my Varna? So there, the thing comes that anything that we resonate with our psychophysical nature is the Varna that we belong to. And ashram is where we are situated at the moment. But our job is to basically leave all our designations and be fully focused on the chanting of the holy names, because that is where the real system falls in place. because we are in Kali Yuga. We don't have to be Kshatriyas, Brahmanas. We are from our psychophysical nature. We can be a Brahmana, we can be Kshatriya. But basic occupational duty for us at this moment is to chant the holy names, glorify the holy names, and ask for bhakti. And as we ask for bhakti, we serve the Vaishnavas so that we become Vaishnavas. So they definitely, Srila Prabhupada has set up a beautiful system for all of us to practice whatever we can to flourish in our becoming a Vaishnava. So I'd like to take a halt here. I don't have much to say on this anymore. If there are more points anybody would like to add here, please feel free. I will take a halt here, and all glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So if there are any comments or any additions or opinions, please feel free.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you very much for a very nice class. Yeah, I've seen you after a long time. Thank you very much. Mataji, I like the point you said about harmony with all the varnas, ashramas, as well as with Mother Nature. Sometimes as devotees, we forget that Mother Nature is also part of the equation. And I like that point you said, that we have to live in harmony with Mother Nature,
Yes.
not be disharmonious. So I like
Yes.
that point very much. Thank you very much. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna. Okay, so if there's no additions or no comments, then we can stop here.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yeah, just
sorry, Prabhu. Yes, Hare Krishna.
just a thought. Thanks for the sharing your realizations and the Maharaj's realizations as well, and his views on this. So yes, rightly you mentioned that it's very, very difficult to establish this varnashrama or people to live in this varnashrama system in Kali Yuga, because as you said, it's very, very complicated. The rules and regulations are very strict, and it's difficult to establish it. So I just thought, yes, definitely you said we should be transcendental to that, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying, by the chanting of the holy name, become transcendental to this system of varnashrama as well. So, but like what if the people who are not devotees of the Lord, no? Who are not the devotees, like, of course, I say it applies to me as well. So what is the solution? What's the solution? So basically, if somebody doesn't take to devotion, that means there's no hope for him or her. Is that pretty much the thing? Varnashrama itself, it's not an alternative to devotion. Huh? Is that? Yeah,
okay. Very nice. Very nice. Few months ago, I happened to talk to Gurudev about the differentiation that we often all have, devotees, non-devotees. And so as mentioned in this, I was talking about leadership. So all of us have the responsibilities, and all of us have the opportunity to make decisions, because if we think that we're practicing something, then, and we feel blissful about it, then we can definitely share it with others. But in all that is said, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita has said that the activities of everybody should keep going. We should not disturb anyone. But in order to bring that harmony, we can definitely act as leaders to spread Krishna consciousness in a very peaceful, blissful method, not by forcing anyone. So Krishna has definitely given us this freedom not to disturb anyone in by any force. And I want to say one thing. I don't know if all of us, including the animals, we are all devotees actually. Our constitutional position is being devotees. The only sad thing is some of us have taken the path and some of us are on the way. We haven't reached the destination, and some, like it's a long caravan, and some are like little ahead, some are behind. But all of us, all living entities here on all the planets basically are devotees of the Lord. Therefore, we call ourselves as aspiring devotees. So understanding, that's where empathy and compassion comes. That if I have that little knowledge, that chanting of the holy name is my prime function, wherein others have no idea about it, then as a leader, I can, by my actions, I can provide a harmony or an environment where this practice can be done with a voluntary effort. And therefore, that's the job of all the preachers, basically. So Srila Prabhupada, when we go back to reading Leela Amrita of Srila Prabhupada, and reading the history, reading all the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada, we see that how the compassion is flowing. And we can't compete with that level of compassion. Definitely we can't, because Srila Prabhupada is also Shaktavesha avatar. However, we can take that little drop and develop some compassion and understand that nobody is a hopeless case in this world. All of us have hope, because if I have hope, everyone has hope. In that case, Prabhu, am I able to put the words in the right context? If that's your question, is it?
Yeah. No, thank you, Mata. Yes. And basically, yes, you're saying that instead of prioritizing, no, because everybody has only so much time and so much of energy. Everybody has, so we have to prioritize our energy. So basically, from what I understand, you're saying, instead of trying to prioritize of our energy and time and effort in establishing this long gone Varnashrama system, which has existed many hundreds of thousands of years back. So instead of trying to imagine that and trying to establish that, it is better to focus our efforts on practicing Krishna consciousness nicely and trying to get others to practice Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
Better to prioritize our energy in that. That's what I understood. Because
the real Varnashram system is, it goes according to the psychophysical nature. So even in the verse we read that the duty of the king, the duty of the leader, is to engage everyone in their prescribed occupational duties. So how do we understand that part of prescribed? I don't know what my prescribed occupational duty is, honestly. Being born in this family, what is my prescribed duty? So in that case, our gurus, they are the leaders for us. So therefore, they tell us our prescribed duties. They engage us. So Srila Prabhupada has engaged us in our prescribed duties, in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Forget about everything. Whatever you are does not matter, whether you're administrative class or whatever. But because you have certain skills, you can use those skills in the service of Krishna. So those skills means that is where I am interested to spend my long days. And that is where I fall into my varna and my ashram. So prioritizing it, as you mentioned, Prabhu, our qualities and aligning them in the right context. Otherwise, it's a very perverted caste system, as we actually see in the present day scenario. The Brahmanas have taken a very important position, or whatever the society is today at the moment.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu,
Thank
for this very nice discussion. Thank you. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Mataji, nice discussion. Yes, very nice. Yeah, that's we have to give freedom to everyone. This is a very good point. And also we have to go with empathy, and we have to keep the hope. That's the main thing. We should not be negative. Oh, they will not become, they are not coming in Krishna consciousness. And I like that all we are devotees of Krishna. Yes, we are all Jiva is part and parcel of Krishna.
Yeah.
So yeah, one day they will come, one day. Don't know that day, but they will come.
Yeah.
A nice reminder. Thank you.
I basically like to keep this reminder because that keeps me away from discrimination.
Mm.
And of course, we need to discriminate from our intelligence, but I can definitely be hopeful. If there is hope for me, there's hope for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We should not give up our leadership.
Not give up our service to Krishna.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we can stop here then if there's nothing more to discuss. Can we?
Yes.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Vanchakalpataru
कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय।
Srila Prabhupada
की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। हर ग्रेश राधा पद्मा माताजी की जय। और प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि
हरि बोल।
All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.